February 27, 1942. 12 Whitley bombers flew through the darkness toward occupied France, carrying 119 paratroopers on Britain's first large-scale airborne raid. Their target was a German radar station that had been inflicting devastating losses on Allied bombers over continental Europe. Intelligence had detected mysterious 375 megahertz pulses guiding night fighters. British bombers would keep bleeding until those secrets were exposed. The paratroopers were attempting something that had never been done before, stealing an entire enemy radar system from under the noses of its operators. Modern special operations forces, with their $13 billion annual budget, still study this mission today. But the story of this audacious raid begins with a brilliant scientist working in the shadows, the forgotten genius behind Britain's radar war. Dr. Reginald Victor Jones worked from a cramped office in Whitehall, piecing together technological secrets that would determine whether Britain survived the war. This Oxford physics graduate had spent his early career studying infrared detection systems, but the outbreak of war transformed him into Britain's premier military technology detective. His network of contacts from university and the scientific community positioned him perfectly to understand German technological capabilities in ways that traditional military intelligence simply couldn't match. Jones's small team of a dozen worked with aerial photo prints, Enigma decrypts, and prisoner interrogations. Every piece of intelligence had to be cross-referenced manually using filing cabinets and handwritten notes. His team relied on photos, interviews, radio intercepts, and ultra-decrypts that arrived sporadically from Bletchley Park. Modern cyber intelligence operations employ thousands of analysts who process information through advanced algorithms, but Jones worked with perhaps a dozen scientists and clerks armed with slide rules and determination. The mystery that would define Jones's career began manifesting in late 1940 through strange pulse signals detected at 375 megahertz frequency along the French coast. British radio operators reported these signals appearing at regular intervals, but their purpose remained unclear. Traditional military intelligence dismissed them as routine German communications, but Jones suspected something far more significant. The signals appeared too organized, too precisely timed to be simple radio chatter. They occurred in patterns that suggested some kind of detection or tracking system, possibly connected to the mounting losses suffered by RAF bombers over occupied Europe. Jones's breakthrough came through his understanding of German culture and methodology. While other intelligence officers focused on technical specifications and troop movements, Jones paid attention to code names. He noticed that German radar systems bore names from Norse mythology, Freya, Seatact, and a mysterious system called Wurzburg. This wasn't random assignment. The Germans, with their methodical approach to classification, chose names that reflected the operational characteristics of their equipment. Freya, the Norse goddess who could see into all 9 worlds, was their long-range early warning radar. What made this discovery particularly unsettling was that Freya had entered service in 1936, 2 years before Britain's chain home became effective, revealing German advances that British intelligence had underestimated. The 375 megahertz signals became Jones's obsession through 1941. He correlated their locations with reported Luftwaffe night fighter successes, finding disturbing patterns. German night fighters seemed to know exactly where RAF bombers would appear, achieving interception rates that defied statistical probability. British Bomber Command attributed these losses to German pilot skill and improved searchlight coordination, but Jones suspected technology. The pulse signals appeared strongest near locations where RAF losses spiked highest, suggesting some kind of precision tracking system far superior to anything British intelligence had identified. Jones's small team operated from a converted basement office that would seem laughably inadequate compared to modern intelligence facilities. They tracked German technological developments using wall-mounted maps marked with colored pins, filing cabinets stuffed with translated documents, and blackboards covered with calculations. Their human insight and scientific intuition often revealed patterns that escaped traditional analysis methods. The puzzle pieces began forming a picture through early 1942. Prisoner interrogations revealed casual references to precision night fighting equipment. Radio intercepts mentioned technical specifications that suggested radar systems far more accurate than British chain home stations. Aerial reconnaissance photographs showed unusual antenna installations at locations corresponding to the 375 megahertz signal sources. Jones realized that Germany had developed a family of radar systems that surpassed British capabilities in crucial areas, particularly target precision and tracking accuracy. Ultra-decrypts eventually confirmed Jones's suspicions. German communications referenced radar-guided night fighters achieving remarkable success rates against RAF bombers. The mysterious Wurzburg system appeared to provide precision tracking data that allowed German fighters to intercept British aircraft with devastating effectiveness. This wasn't the radar war that British military leaders expected to fight. Instead of British technological superiority, the evidence suggested German radar had evolved beyond British systems in critical operational areas. Jones understood that Britain faced a technological crisis that threatened the entire strategic bombing campaign. RAF losses over occupied Europe were becoming unsustainable, with entire squadrons disappearing during single missions. Traditional countermeasures like altitude changes and route variations proved ineffective against German radar-guided defenses. British aircraft manufacturers were producing bombers faster than Germany could shoot them down, but crew losses were irreplaceable. Experienced pilots and navigators required months of training that Britain couldn't afford to repeat indefinitely. The scientific intelligence picture Jones assembled through months of painstaking analysis pointed to one inescapable conclusion. Britain needed to examine German radar technology directly. Captured equipment fragments from crashed aircraft provided limited information. Prisoner interrogations revealed operational details, but not technical specifications. Only by obtaining a complete German radar system could British scientists understand the true extent of German technological advantages and develop effective countermeasures. Jones's work was about to transform from scientific analysis to operational planning. The mysterious signals at 375 megahertz, the Norse mythology code names, and the devastating effectiveness of German night fighters had revealed a technological threat that traditional military responses couldn't address. What was needed was a precision raid to capture German radar equipment intact, along with the technical personnel who operated it. But first, British military leaders would have to confront some uncomfortable truths about their assumptions regarding German technological capabilities, when German technology became Britain's nightmare. The mounting casualty reports told a story that RAF leadership refused to accept. German radar technology had surpassed British systems in critical operational areas, and bomber crews were paying the price with their lives. Night after night, experienced pilots and navigators disappeared over occupied Europe as German radar-guided defenses achieved interception rates that defied every tactical manual and strategic assumption. Air Marshal Arthur Harris and his staff at Bomber Command headquarters dismissed early reports of sophisticated German radar as exaggerated accounts from shaken aircrew. British intelligence assessments consistently portrayed German radar as crude copies of British chain home technology, primitive systems that posed minimal threat to properly executed bombing missions. This institutional arrogance stemmed from Britain's early success with radar during the Battle of Britain, when chain home stations had provided crucial early warning against Luftwaffe attacks. Senior RAF officers assumed that British radar pioneers like Robert Watson Watt had established permanent technological superiority that Germany couldn't match. The reality painted a far different picture. German Freya and Sea-Tac radar systems had entered operational service in 1936, 2 years before Britain's chain home network became fully functional. German engineers had developed these systems independently, using different technical approaches that solved problems British designers hadn't even recognized. While British radar focused on long-range detection for defensive purposes, German systems emphasized precision tracking and target designation for offensive operations. Hermann Göring's initial dismissal of radar technology had inadvertently aided British survival, during 1940. The Luftwaffe commander preferred rapid offensive warfare built around overwhelming air superiority and quick decisive battles. He viewed radar as a defensive technology unsuited to Germany's aggressive military doctrine, allocating minimal resources to radar development during the early war years. This strategic miscalculation allowed Britain time to develop and deploy chain home stations before Germany recognized radar's full potential. However, once the Allied strategic bombing campaign began targeting German industrial centers, Göring's attitude changed dramatically. By late 1941, ultra-decrypts named Wurzburg and photography revealed matrix-shaped antennas in Brittany. Unlike the longer-range, Freya system designed for early warning, Wurzburg operated on shorter wavelengths that provided precision tracking accuracy measured in meters rather than kilometers. Intelligence reports indicated that Wurzburg could track individual aircraft with sufficient precision to guide night fighters directly onto target bombers, eliminating the trial and error searches that had previously limited German interception effectiveness. Jones even linked Freya to Norse myths, a gamble that paid off when German radar systems proved to bear names from Norse mythology that reflected their operational characteristics. RAF operations rooms in 1942 relied on manual plotting tables where Women's Auxiliary Air Force personnel moved markers representing individual aircraft positions based on radar reports received through telephone communications. Each position update required human interpretation and manual placement, creating delays measured in minutes between detection and response. Plotting officers used colored markers to distinguish between friendly and hostile aircraft, with identification errors occurring regularly due to communication delays and equipment limitations. The technological gap became even more striking when examining processing power and response times. German Wurzburg operators manually calculated interception courses using mechanical computers and slide rules, transmitting instructions to night fighters through voice radio communications subject to atmospheric interference and enemy jamming. These primitive systems fundamentally changed warfare in ways that military leaders are still studying today. The escalating effectiveness of German radar-guided defenses created an operational crisis that threatened to collapse Britain's strategic bombing campaign before it could achieve meaningful results. Bomber Command was losing experienced crews faster than training schools could replace them, with some squadrons suffering casualties exceeding 50% during individual missions. These losses weren't sustainable given the time and resources required to train replacement aircrew. Navigation specialists and bomb aimers represented particularly critical losses since their skills required months of specialized training that couldn't be accelerated without compromising effectiveness. German night fighter pilots achieved success rates that traditional fighter tactics couldn't explain, intercepting British bombers with precision that suggested technological assistance far beyond visual identification or sound detection. Luftwaffe units reported multiple kills per sortie, indicating systematic rather than opportunistic interceptions. British intelligence analysts studying mission reports found patterns suggesting German fighters knew exact altitudes, headings, and speeds of incoming bomber formations before visual contact occurred. This level of tactical intelligence could only result from precision radar systems providing real-time tracking data. The technological nightmare facing RAF Bomber Command demanded solutions that conventional military thinking couldn't provide. Traditional responses like altitude changes, route variations, and formation modifications proved ineffective against radar-guided defenses that could track aircraft regardless of tactical adaptations. Electronic countermeasures remained theoretical concepts that British scientists hadn't yet developed into practical systems. The only viable solution required obtaining German radar equipment for detailed technical analysis, a mission that would demand capabilities no existing British military unit possessed. But first, British intelligence needed to locate a German radar installation that could be captured intact. The answer would come from an unexpected source, a grainy black and white photograph that most analysts had already dismissed as worthless. The photo that changed everything. Charles Frank stared at the grainy black and white photograph spread across his desk, adjusting his glasses for the 100th time that morning. The image showed a stretch of French coastline near a village called Berneville, captured during a routine reconnaissance mission by the RAF's Photographic Reconnaissance Unit. Frank worked as part of R.V. Jones's scientific intelligence team, tasked with identifying German installations from aerial photographs that often revealed more shadows than substance. The photograph development process alone consumed days before analysts could begin their work. RAF reconnaissance aircraft returned from missions over occupied Europe carrying precious film canisters that traveled to specialized laboratories for chemical processing. The entire workflow from mission completion to analyst examination typically required 2 to 3 weeks, a glacial pace compared to modern standards, but revolutionary for wartime intelligence gathering. Frank examined every detail visible in the Berneville photograph, noting the large farmhouse and surrounding outbuildings that likely served as quarters for German personnel. The coastline appeared heavily defended with visible gun emplacements and observation posts positioned to monitor channel approaches. German engineers had chosen this location carefully, selecting elevated terrain that provided excellent visibility while offering natural protection from naval bombardment. A small black appeared on the cliff top near the main buildings, barely visible against the photograph's grainy background. Previous photo interpreters had cataloged this mark as a latrine or storage structure, noting its location, but assigning no tactical significance to what appeared to be routine infrastructure. Frank studied the dump more carefully, measuring its dimensions and examining its relationship to surrounding structures. Something about its precise circular shape and isolated positioning suggested a purpose beyond basic facilities for the German garrison. Squadron leader Tony Hill had captured these images during an exceptionally dangerous low-level reconnaissance mission that required flying at treetop height over heavily defended territory. Hill piloted a specially modified Spitfire stripped of armor and weapons to maximize speed and altitude performance for photographic work. The Photographic Reconnaissance Unit operated under an unwritten rule that pilots never photograph the same target twice, a security protocol designed to prevent German defenders from anticipating return visits and preparing enhanced countermeasures. PRU missions represented some of the most hazardous assignments in the RAF during 1942. Pilots flew alone over occupied Europe without fighter escort or defensive armament, relying entirely on speed and surprise to avoid German interceptors. The mortality rate among PRU pilots exceeded 50%, with experienced photographers disappearing regularly during routine missions that provided crucial intelligence for Allied operations. Hill's initial photographs of Berneville had suffered from atmospheric conditions and aircraft movement that reduced image clarity below acceptable standards for detailed analysis. Despite the obvious risks and clear violation of standing orders, Hill decided to return to Berneville the following day for another photographic attempt. His second mission achieved the image quality necessary for detailed intelligence analysis, capturing clear details of the German installation that had remained obscured during the previous day's flight. Frank's suspicions about the mysterious black dot intensified as he compared Hill's two photographic missions. The object appeared in identical position during both flights, eliminating the possibility of temporary equipment or personnel that might explain its presence. Its consistent location and circular shape suggested permanent installation rather than routine-based infrastructure. The revelation struck Frank suddenly as he examined the photograph under magnification equipment borrowed from the RAF's technical section. Chauveau and Dumont's clarity images revealed a 3-meter dish confirming Wurzburg. The dish's small size and precise positioning matched intelligence reports describing German precision tracking radar designed to guide night fighters onto specific targets. Modern satellite imagery achieves resolution capabilities measured in centimeters rather than the meters that represented exceptional quality during World War II. Contemporary reconnaissance satellites costing $500 million each can distinguish individual vehicles and identify specific equipment types from orbital altitudes exceeding 200 kilometers. The contrast between wartime photo interpretation and modern artificial intelligence analysis demonstrates the technological revolution that has transformed military intelligence gathering. Frank's painstaking examination of individual photographs required days of careful study using magnifying glasses and measurement tools. Frank's discovery triggered immediate planning for what would become one of the most audacious operations of the war. Intelligence reports indicated that a hidden smuggling route provided parachute escape paths from the clifftop installation. Additional reconnaissance revealed crucial details about German defensive positions and personnel routines that would prove essential for mission planning. The German sentry disclosed the unmined beach, a vital insight backed by Renault's agents, providing the intelligence necessary to plan a complex assault on the radar installation. The black that other analysts had dismissed as routine infrastructure would soon become the objective for an unprecedented military operation. Jones's scientific intelligence had identified the target, aerial reconnaissance had mapped the approaches, and resistance networks had provided crucial details about German defenses and escape routes. The stage was set for a mission that would test Britain's newest military capability in the most demanding circumstances possible. But first, Britain needed soldiers capable of executing such an operation. The mission would require troops who could parachute behind enemy lines, assault a heavily defended position, capture complex technical equipment, and escape across hostile territory. In 1942, Britain possessed no such force. Creating one would require desperate improvisation, dangerous experimentation, and the kind of military innovation that only wartime necessity could inspire. Churchill's paratroopers, Britain's experimental warriors. Winston Churchill's memorandum of June 22, 1940, demanded the immediate formation of at least 5,000 parachute troops, a direct response to watching German airborne forces seize seemingly impregnable fortifications across Europe with devastating effectiveness. The Prime Minister had witnessed how German paratroopers captured the Belgian fortress of Eben-Emael in less than 24 hours, neutralizing defenses that military experts considered impenetrable. Churchill understood that Britain needed similar capabilities to strike behind enemy lines and conduct operations that conventional forces simply couldn't accomplish. RAF Ringway, near Manchester, became Britain's first parachute training school through desperate improvisation and institutional determination. The facility lacked proper aircraft, parachutes, training equipment, and instructors with actual parachuting experience. Military officials requisitioned obsolete Armstrong, Whitworth, Whitley bombers that had been relegated to training duties, aircraft never designed for parachute operations. RAF technicians cut holes in the rear fuselage floors, creating crude exit points that required trainees to drop through openings barely large enough for a human body wearing full equipment. The jumping process itself represented a calculated risk that killed or injured trainees with alarming regularity. Paratroopers sat on benches inside the cramped Whitley fuselage, waiting for the dispatcher's signal to approach the exit hole. Each man had to position himself carefully over the opening, then drop through while the aircraft maintained flying speed above dangerous terrain. The hole's edges were sharp enough to catch equipment or clothing, potentially trapping paratroopers halfway through the exit during crucial moments when hesitation meant death. Britain's parachute program operated without reserve parachutes, a decision that reflected both equipment shortages and institutional ignorance about parachuting safety protocols. Military planners assumed that reserve parachutes represented unnecessary weight and complexity for soldiers who should trust their primary equipment completely. This philosophy proved lethal when main parachutes failed to deploy properly, leaving trainees with no backup system during their descent to Earth. Equipment failures occurred frequently due to rushed manufacturing and inadequate quality control procedures that prioritized quantity over reliability. Training accidents accumulated with disturbing frequency as the program expanded beyond its initial experimental phase. Several paratroopers died when their parachutes failed to open properly during routine training jumps over English countryside. Others suffered serious injuries when they landed in unexpected locations due to wind conditions or navigation errors by inexperienced pilots. The most tragic incident occurred when a navigation error resulted in paratroopers being dropped directly into the River Clyde, where several men drowned before rescue boats could reach them. Military bureaucracy created additional complications through institutional confusion about command structure and organizational responsibilities. Senior officers debated whether paratroopers should belong to the Royal Air Force since they deployed from aircraft or the British Army since they fought as ground forces after landing. This dispute delayed equipment procurement, training standardization, and tactical development, while administrators argued over bureaucratic jurisdiction rather than operational effectiveness. The unit evolved from No. 2 Commando to the 11th Special Air Service Battalion before finally becoming the 1st Parachute Battalion in September 1941. Lieutenant General Frederick Browning assumed command of British airborne forces in November 1941, bringing professional military leadership to what had been largely an experimental program managed by enthusiastic amateurs. The approximately 500 paratroopers trained by early 1942 represented Britain's entire airborne capability, a force barely large enough for company-level operations against strategic targets. Modern special operations forces deploy 70,000 personnel globally with annual budgets exceeding $13 billion, capabilities that dwarf Britain's entire World War II military establishment. Contemporary special operations units can deploy battalion-strength forces anywhere in the world within 18 hours using aircraft that cost more than Britain's entire parachute program during 1940 to 1945.